सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः, भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः, स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः, स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः, स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः, स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यं करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। दक्षिणाक्षिमुखे विश्वः, मनसि यन्तस्तु तैजसः, आकाशे च हृदि प्राज्ञः, त्रिधा देहे व्यवस्थितः। So, continuing with our analysis, examination, also called vichara and also called mimamsa. So in Vedanta, this word mimamsa is used very often to indicate that vivekapurvam mimamsa. The main mimamsa is vivekapurvam. There are two things that look alike, and we need to have our mind subtle enough to be able to distinguish between those two. It's called mimamsa. So continuing with our examination of the phenomena of life. So we saw three technical words: badha, upadhi, and of course mithya, which we will redefine or define it again. So these are technical terms important to understand in the context of Vedanta. See, that's an important thing to see. Technical terms are relevant only for the context within which they reside. A beautiful example is that of mouse. So in mouse, the question is, what is the context under which you are using it? By the way, one very interesting thing, the word mouse, or any other word for that matter, badha, etc., the word mouse is what would be called vachyartha. Right? In the Tattvamasi, the Mahavakya, that you and that are the same. So, you is the vachyartha, meaning I, the individual that the finger is pointing out. This is called vachyartha. Similarly, Ishvara, at this present moment, the unknown entity, is the vachyartha of Tat. But the lakshyartha is different from the vachyartha. Lakshyartha means what is indicated, not what is directly not directly pointed out. It is called lakshyartha. So now going back to the word mouse. Mouse is a vachyartha. In English, it will be Mouse, vachyartha. Directly, this is how you say, supposing you say right mouse or say mouse. You can even say mouse, so people say mouse. But the lakshartha of mouse is dependent on the context under which you mean the mouse to be. We have a lot of mice problem in our house. It's been a huge issue. We live in this uh, jungle-like area which is surrounded by greenery, which is nice. This is where we opted for. So we are a little bit away from the hustle and bustle of street life, where houses are right next to each other. We have, a lot of land around us. That means, guess what? We are sharing it with, you cannot believe how many different kinds of critters, animals, are anxious to enter our house. So we have a huge mouse problem. And so when we say mouse in that context, we mean something totally different. We have to think about traps. Uh, there's a guy who's an expert. He tells me this is remnants of a mouse, poop of a mouse, not a rat. Sizes are different. So he's an expert in mouse. Now, if you're sitting in a computer lab or you're getting some training on QuickBooks, then the word mouse has a totally different meaning. So this is what is called lakshyartha. So in the case of Tattvamasi, the vachyartha is Jiva and Ishvara. Lakshyartha is Atma. So the Atma there, the word Atma, so you can say Jivatma and still meaning the conscious entity that appears to be enclosed in this human body or any other living body. This is the Vachyartha. And Ishvara is the conscious entity of the designer of the whole cosmos. That is the Vachyartha. But the Lakshyartha for them is something completely different. So now one other thing, interesting thing to think about, that for us to um, teach about words that are indicated, an understanding of the context is very important. Like, supposing you go to an Indian village where there's no one has seen a computer, and you say, don't you know a mouse? And they'll say, yes, we know mouse. What about it? And say, do you get a computer with a mouse or without a mouse? They will be completely non-understanding. What are you talking about? With a mouse, not a mouse, computer, this, that, or the other. So an understanding of the context is very important. This is why in Vedanta, the Mahavakyas are not given without context. You cannot just tell a simple person outside, do you know you and Ishvara are one and the same? He will either laugh at you or pity you or something. I don't know what he would do. So this is exactly what it means the Mimamsa means that both the Vachyartha and the context within which it is used has to be grown into. You have to understand the whole context about computers and how a mouse can move the cursor and all of that. So now That's just on the side. So we saw the word badha. And I was telling you that I would look for an English meaning. And I actually went through some dictionaries and so on. And do you know what? I think in the last class, Vikram Sadgopan had given, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name accurately. I'm not sure of it. I think he has indicated the two words sublated and negated. I think they are the best. So badha means something that can be negated. And what that means, it is not destroyed. So even though it is visible, it is still not there. So this is exactly in the blue color akasha, nilambaram, the blue sky. The nilatvam, the blueness is badita satyam. But the ambaram, the akasha, is abadita satyam. So badita means one that has been badha has been done, for which the badha has been done. So badha has been done means that it has to understand, this is an important thing, we will look at this later. Where is the blueness situated? This is the question. It is called Mimamsa. In Vedanta, this is how Mimamsa is done. You have to sort of cross your arms and say, let's look at this. Where is the blueness situated? Is it in the Akasha? No, clearly not. Because if it was there, then even this room would all appear to be blue, but it doesn't. It's not there. It's not there in the darkness. So clearly it is not there in the Akasha. Is it in the eye? Well, you look at your eye and say, is there any blueness in my eye? No, there's no blueness. Is it in the Atma? No, Atma is Nirakara, Nirvayava, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Even if we don't know what Atma is, the Shruti never say it's the blue Atma. So it's not in the Atma. So where is it? This is a very good question. So this is what is called an appearance without any substance. And the only thing we can say is we don't know where it is. It just happens. This is one of the creations of this world. The closest thing you can say is it is in the mind. That's it. And the blueness is not just in one person's mind. Everyone looking at the sky also has blueness. So you cannot say that it is individualistic to a single mind. Here we can expand this example a little bit. All these are very important Mimamsa points. We have to understand this. So, we have to expand this to another example. That is that of taking a rope to be a snake. So there we can say, where is the snakeness? Is it in the rope? No. Is it in the Atma? No. Is it in the sky? No. Where is it? It's in the mind of some peculiar situation of a person that has made a mistake. So there we can say it is the Rajju Sarpa example, the rope and snake example. is individual to a person, because unlike the Nila Akasha, where everybody can see it, in the Rajju Sarpa, it is purely individualistic. So you can say this is very interesting. The sarpatvam, the snakeness, is pratibhasika satyam. Pratibhasika satyam. Okay, now let us continue this analysis. I'm going a little technical here just because this is an advanced class. And I think we need to have the underpinnings. This is what Mimamsa and Vichara is to really strengthen our analysis, our analytical capability. So in the case of Rajju Sarpa, the rope snake, another thing. One thing is that it is individualistic, that means it is pratibhasika. As opposed to the blueness of the sky, which is also badita satyam. Just like the snake is also badita satyam, and the blueness is also badita satyam, but there it is not, guess what? It is not pratibhasika badita satyam, it is vyavaharika badita satyam. That means everyone makes the same mistake up to a point, meaning that there also there is a difference, because now we'll go to another point. So let's look at this. This is very, very interesting. In the case of the rope snake example, the snakeness is, even though it is pratibhasika, it is individualistic to a person, but it has certain reality to it. We can see it, because if a person really thinks that it's a snake, they would react differently. They will try to run away from it. They will try to beat it, because they are scared of getting bitten by this, which is the bite of a snake can be fatal. This, by the way, is also a very interesting point. This is brought up in the Brahma Sutra Adhyasa Bhashya by Adi Shankara. So Adhyasa Bhashya by Adi Shankara says that Adhyasa means a mistake. One of the students, I think Zarina, had given the example of an illusion. So this is not, the illusion is not as accurate a word, but it comes a little closer to it. So adhyasa means a mistake, just a mistake. Simple mistake, but a very, very powerful mistake, very damaging mistake. Nevertheless, it's a mistake. Atasmin tad buddhi, taking something to be other than what it is. There he says, Adi Shankara says, that mistake has a basis. What is the basis? The basis is your previous memory. An ingredient of this mistake is a previous memory. Memory of a previous memory means not previous memory. A memory-like understanding that this is. So what that means is, a child that has never seen a snake before in this life will never mistake a rope to be a snake. And in fact, if an adult also has never seen a snake, chances are that you will see some pictures on television and so on, so you will probably see it. But it's very possible that a person would never have seen a snake. Whereas a person like myself and other people from India who have seen many, many snakes in our life, and we've had some very bad experiences, which I think I've talked about in my previous classes. I won't go into that. So there is a certain fear of the snake. So whenever there is a mistake, the previous experience comes to fore to create an ingredient for this adhyasa. It's a very interesting point. Anyway, coming back to a very basic distinction between the rope snake adhyasa, rope snake mistake, and the blueness of the sky mistake. This is a very, very important thing. The first one is called, what is it called? A second, there's a word. I was looking for it. Yeah, it's called, the snake example is called Nirupadhika Brahma. Brahma here means adhyasa, means it. Brahma means a severe mistake. Okay? It's a severe mistake. To see a rope for a snake is not an ordinary thing because it alters your entire reaction. You run away from it. And so that mistake called Brahma is what is called Nirupadhika Brahma. What do we mean by Nirupadhika Brahma? It means that once it becomes badhita, how does it become badhita? Because if a flashlight is shown and an examination of this snake-like vastu is seen, and it is seen it's actually a rope, and it's a mistake on my part because I didn't have enough light to see it properly, it becomes badhita satyam. And the kind of badhita satyam is nirupadhika badhita satyam. What does that mean? It means that the vision of the snake disappears the moment you see it is a rope. Even if you rub your eyes and say, I thought it was a snake. In fact, let me see if I can see it. You can't do it. You cannot recreate a snake in your mind and again because it is nirupadhika. As opposed to that is the blueness of the sky. The blueness of the sky is called sa-upadhika. Along with nirupadhika means there is no upadhi anymore. But in the other badhita satyam, that of the blueness of the sky, there is sa-upadhika satyam. Means that the upadhi is still there, but the blueness has become badhita satyam. You follow. You follow. And this is an important thing to see. What it means is that once a person knows that the blueness is just an appearance, there is no reality to it, then even if the blueness is still there, you look at blueness differently. It has no effect on you. You don't think it is really blue. Another example of that is the rising sun. For a person that doesn't know that the sun does not rise, it is the rotation of the earth, that rising sun appears to be very real. But on the other hand, very soon when a person is told, when a child is told that listen, this is the sun doesn't rise, In fact, the sun is staying exactly the way it is. It is just the movement of the earth and how it rotates. It makes the sun appear to be rising. So this is another example of Sopadhika Badita Satyam, isn't it? That means that you are, for an adult like you and I that have known that the sun doesn't rise, the sun still rises and we enjoy it. We do namaskara in the morning. I have made it a pratigya to do Gayatri mantra three times. I don't do complete Surya Namaskara, which takes a long time. I really should have done that. But, for my exercise of the body and the mind and so on. But I cut it short. But I do, as soon as the sun rises, I do Gayatri mantra 30 times. And so, even while I'm doing it, I enjoy the sunrise. Even though if I know that it is really does not rise at all. It is exactly the same way it is. So this is the example of Badita Satyam. So this Sopadhika Badita Satyam is a very important thing for us to see, because there is a Mimamsa discussion amongst many of the students who feel who is a true jnani? Who is the person who is siddha? Because the Atma is ekam advitiyam. It is one and only. There is no secondness to it. Everything else is mithya, and the world disappears for them as a reality, and it just sees that I am the very Satyam Jnanam Anantam Satchidananda. This is a jnani. So then the person says, wait a second. There is a jnani. As soon as this jnana becomes very clear, what happens to this person? So this is exactly the question of Arjuna in this end of the second chapter. Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha. So Arjuna is listening to Krishna giving the lakshana of a Jivan Mukta, of a Mahatma, of a Moksha Purusha, Siddha Purusha. Then he says, well, okay, I understand that. It is really fascinating to know. But how does that person, what happens to that person? Does he disappear? He becomes Atma because there is no body or anything? What about hunger and thirst and sleep and dreaming for that person? Isn't it expected that the person, there is no swapna avastha, no jagrata avastha, no sushupti avastha, no pancha mahabhutas, everything is all gone, and I am just the singular Atma, isn't it? What you are telling me? He says, yes, I'm telling you that. Okay, so that means what happens? So what is said is, nothing happens on the surface. Why? Because of sa upadhika badhita satyam. Just like for an adult that knows the sun doesn't rise, but it still rises from his experience, similarly, a jnani will still have hunger. But the hunger has a different meaning for him, different effect on him. That's the word I'm looking for. I tell you, this is one of the interesting things as I'm growing older. The words are disappearing. It's a very fascinating thing. And I think I was telling you before that it doesn't bother me. Yeah, that's fine. I am what I am. I'm the very conscious Atma. And if the words don't appear to my mind, so be it. Anyway, so hunger and thirst do not have any effect on that person. Not the kind that it will have for you and me. And so it says that the body has to go on. And so if he's from South India, he would still prefer to have dosa and idli. Is he from Punjab, he's still going to have puri aloo. That doesn't change his jnanam. So this is an expression of sapeksha badita satya. This is a very important discussion that comes up in the Mimamsa between Advaita Vedantins and others who feel, no, there has to be something else. If a jnani is behaving normally, if he watches Netflix once in a while, that means he's not a jnani anymore. No, it has nothing to do with it. Anyway, so that's the basis of... so this is the interplay of these technical words, badha, upadhi, and now also mithya. Yes, that also is a very important word. But look at that for a minute. Oh, yeah, sorry. Before we go to mithya, one more thing about upadhi, explanation of upadhi. So what we saw was that the upadhi is defined to be that entity that being situated close to a vastu. So I'm making a distinction between entity and vastu. So vastu means something with reality, and entity here is an English word, but I'm just choosing it as a thing, which may not be real, but it has some effect on the vastu. That's what an upadhi is. And one of the conditions of upadhi, one of the lakshana of the upadhi, one of the definitional points of the upadhi is that it must be situated close to the vastu. So here, let's take a person. And a person has a human being, in other words, a human being. Any living being, that's a human being. So the human being is endowed with a very sophisticated set of tools to negotiate life with. Very sophisticated, very complex, just amazing. Every time the body falls sick, you begin to understand what a machinery this is. And I'm experiencing it because as I grow old, I can see diseases creeping in, and playing a role in understanding how they all play together and how the body is slowly dissipating. I can see that. I probably have 4 or 5 things going on. None of them as serious as I hope they're not, but they're all there. One pains this, that, or the other. So we have an amazing, sophisticated things that we are surrounded with: mind, buddhi, a sense of myself, ahankara, memory, vasanas, samskaras. Now these act as upadhi for me. Why? Because it is situated very close to me. This is what Vedanta says when it says Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman in Taittiriya Upanishad. In the cave of the heart. In the cave of the heart means it's very close to you. Within, almost like feeling of a within me. When they are that close to you, they have an ability to make you look other than what you are, like any upadhi. Whereas the upadhis, all the paraphernalia of someone else doesn't act as my upadhi because it is not close to me. That also is an upadhi for someone else, but not for me. So this is a very interesting thing, that things that I possess as me and mine become my upadhi. And they have the ability to color and to change the perception of exactly who I am. This is what is happening. Now these upadhis, now we go to the term mithya. What is mithya? Now we have known about the word mithya, which is, one definition of that is sat asadbhyam anirvachaniyam. Like the ornaments of a gold, they are neither sat nor asat. They are something in between, anirvachaniyam. This is one definition that we have seen. Another definition which is very useful to see, or which is lakshana of mithya, an important one for us to do this mimamsa, our vichara, is the lakshana of mithya means they are only appearing to be there while they are there, not when they are not there. It kind of sounds funny, but stay with this for a while. So the lakshana of mithya means they are in the form of changes of the mind. This is what is called pratyaya. Pratyaya means one which has some form. They have a certain specific form that they appear in. This is called pratyaya. So now there is a Sanskrit definition of this in the form of a sentence. Let me read that, then I'll explain it. So he says, mithya ye pratyayaha. Mithya ye pratyayaha. Ye pratyayaha pratiti kale Satyavad bhasante tadantaram cha badhyante te mithya pratyayaha. Again, he says mithya ye pratyayaha means which kind of pratyayaha are called mithya. Ye pratyayaha, those changes in the form, pratiti kale satyavad bhasante. Pratiti kale means they only have a form of being there because I can see them. So my experience is that they must be there. Pratiti kale satyavad bhasante tadanantaram cha badhyate. Bhadyante means the near badha is used now. Bhadyante means they're negated. Te mithyayaha pratyaya. This is the logic. What is the drishtanta for it? Swapnavat. Swapnavat means just like in a dream, as long as they are appearing, they look real. At the moment they are gone, they're gone. You call that Satyam? Certainly not. So this is another definition of mithya. And in fact, based on this, if you look at the verses of Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, on the second chapter, verse number 14, if you recall this, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama paino anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama paino nityaha. Anityaha is silent here. Nityaha stam stitikshasva bharata. So he says that all these sparsha matraha, the ones that appear because of the various pancha mahabhutas, my touching the pancha mahabhutas, my eye touching the rupa, my hand touching the sense of touch, and so on. So all these, because they all create a certain experience for me. So all these experiences, these are pratyayaha, these are all forms. He Kaunteya, he Kuntiputra, Shitoshna Sukhadaha. They create problems for me. Happiness for me and problems for me. In your mind. Agamapaino anitya. Agamapaino means at one time they were not there. Now they are there. This is pratiti kale. They are there. Apainaha. And pretty soon they are all going to be gone. But we are taking them to be so real. We react to it, we experience them, and we evaluate ourselves based on my experiences of this particular moment. Swami Kanananda also says, he says, he says, I was sitting with a Mahatma, and in all these satsangs, because you learn by asking questions of the Mahatmas yourself, And you also learn by sitting next to them over a long period of time. I mean, we don't have the chance to do that anymore because, you know, things, where do we find these Mahatmas sitting on the corner in the jungle somewhere? We don't have the time, they're not available. So things are different now. But anyway, Swami Khandananda says that I learned a lot by just sitting next to them. And just when people will come up and say to Mahatmas, and just observing the question and answers that are going on. You don't ask yourself, but other people ask, and so you also learn from that. So there was a person that came in and says to this Mahatma, Swamiji, I have a very difficult life, and I've had so many problems, and I don't know what to do. So Swamiji says, okay. This Mahatma said, okay, let's analyze this. What are you saying? He says that I have had a lot of problems. Okay. Those problems are gone now, aren't they? Yes. He says, stop. Why are you bothered about things that are no longer there? So the person would say, yeah, I agree with you, I should not, but I have a feeling they might come back again. That's why I'm bothered. All right. If that's your worry, how long do the problems last? Tell me. So this is how the dialogue went. And it says you are giving too much attention to how you feel. You are completely oblivious to who you are, your mahima, your beauty, your grandeur. And you are so immersed in things that appear in front of you that are disappearing. This whole thing is just gone, going. Like your dukkha is gone in the past, the current also is going. So this is what Sri Krishna says. Agama paino anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. So Sri Krishna told Arjuna that if I were you, I would just bear it. Don't be cowed down by the burden of problems in your life. Face up to it, because not as though, this is not an advice who says what cannot be cured must be endured. No. But you're giving too much attention to the problems that are happening in your life. Be a little bit more truthful to yourself, and therefore be a little bit more secure in exactly who you are. Do not let the world bother you because it is not there. And even though it appears to be now, this is the definition of mithya as we saw, even while it is there, it is not going to be there. And this one fact is also explained by Sri Krishna in the 28th verse of the second chapter. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhanani eva tatra ka paridevana. Tatra ka paridevana. Tatra ka paridevana means, why are you crying about something that is just so momentary? And it's going to be it's not going to last very much. you know, uh, I had to go for a blood test today. In fact, I had two blood tests for two different things that I'm going through. And getting a needle poked into your arm, especially for someone like me whose veins are very thin and they slip, and so people have a hard time getting blood out of my veins, and so they have to re-poke it a few times. And it's painful because, a needle getting poked into your skin is not a very pleasant thing. But, compared to, and I have some grandchildren, and they also get needles poked. They don't get blood tests done, happily. It's not like you have to get a vein and then draw blood from it, but they just get some medicines thing. But their sense of pain is very different because they all start crying right away. What is happening to me? Why are you doing this to me? Whereas for an adult like me, when I went for a blood test, it was still painful, but my attitude towards it was, first of all, it's just momentary. It's going to be gone. And it's good for me. Good for me. So here Swami Kandananda says, he says, it's very interesting. This is a very important thing to see, really. Problems of dukkha. In fact, I was reading some book by Swami Kandananda, and again he was reciting. So these books that he's writing, the Mandukya and also the Brahma Sutra and Trikdishya Viveka, all these kinds of books that I'm sort of perusing, is a testimony to thousands of cases where people bring their viewpoint to the Mahatmas and see how the Mahatmas advise them. So this one discussion that was taking place, very interesting. So this person was saying, Mahatma Ji, I can understand your viewpoint, which we'll be studying more and more detail, that a cause of dukkha is ownership, me and mine, right? We've already talked about it, and we will repeat this again. Remember, we talked about the body being a hotel, that we have a hard time to give up the notion that I am the body. And the way to do that, as we saw in a couple of classes ago, was to see the truth of it, that the body is like a place that I'm occupying for a short time. And it is necessary for it to be maintained. It has to be cleaned up. It has to be made right. There's some problems and all that. And I'm occupying it for a while, and it's very natural that I have to participate in what's happening to the body, but I am different from it. I'm just an occupant. So there are some people that approached the Mahatma and said, Mahatma Ji, I can understand that this me and mine creates dukkha. As we have seen the examples, that if any other child is getting hurt, then I'm somewhat affected by it. But if it is my child getting hurt, I'm much more affected. So that just means that it is not the child getting hurt that affects me. It is my ownership of that child that affects me. This is the key thing. So this person was asking Swamiji, to this Mahatma, that I can see that. But they were arguing, what about my own body? I'm stuck with it. I can see that I should not cry about somebody who's not my body, like my son, daughter, mother, wife, husband. That I can see. I should not be bothered by their getting illness, but I can overcome that. But if my body becomes ill, I have no recourse. How can I? So there's a breakdown of this law. Tell me, how would you do that? So this Mahatma said, listen, here's what happens. This is this blood drawn today is a very appropriate example. I hadn't thought of that because I just got it done about a couple of hours ago. And about 4 o'clock. So Mahatma said, listen, when you think about it, it's not the pain of your body that bothers you. It is the feeling of pain in your mind that bothers you. Think about it. This is where the distinction between a child and an adult getting poked in the arm becomes obvious. The pain of my grandkids and the pain in my body is roughly the same. There may be small differences on how the needle is put and all that, but it is painful. It remains the same. But what happens is that in the case of the child that has not experienced this pain and cannot evaluate it, it really blows up to be a big problem and they start really crying, appropriately crying. Whereas hopefully in the case of an adult like myself that has had, how many pokes have we had in our lives? Thousands of them. Then you look at it and say, here comes another poke. Oh, that's okay. So this is the thing. It is the net of that. The question is, what is the net of this? This is very interesting in this whole discussion in Brahma Sutra Bhashya. What it says is, if you want to just make a note of this, he says that the world is what is called bhavatmaka, natu dravyatmaka. Jagat, or he would say samsara. Samsara or jagat, either way. The distinction between jagat and samsara means, the jagat means it is kind of like an Ishvara Shrishti. This is the way things are. There is solid objects, there is liquid, all Panchamahabhutas. This is how it is all made out of. This is called jagat. Samsara, of course, means that it's my view of it. So it's a Jiva Shrishti on top of that. This is samsara. So that's the distinction between them. But either way, whether it is viewed as a samsara or a jagat, the crux of what you see is all mental. This is what is called bhavatmaka. Bhava means a certain thought. Natu dravyatmaka. There's no solidity. There's no solidity. So this is exactly where the lessons of of Swapnavastha become extremely important. Very important, because in the Swapnavastha, in the dream state, there is no Dravya Atmika. There's no solidity to it. There's it is all Bhavatmaka. And the interesting thing is that even the Jagrata Avastha is exactly the same. It is not Dravyatmaka. It is Bhavatmaka. This is why I can completely dismiss it. The entire Jagrata Avastha, as we saw, is negated, Badita, in Swapnavastha. And both of them are Badita in Sushupti Avastha. Gone. If they were Dravyatmaka means if they have some substance, some solidity, they would still be hanging around. But they don't. Because my mind changes. And as my mind changes, the reality of as I see the world also changes. This is the crux of the teaching. It's very hard to believe in the beginning, but this is the truth. This is exactly what we have to see. So in the Ekajiva Vada, this is exactly what we have to see, is that the whole thing is just nothing but my drishya. In the teaching of Vedanta, it's a very funny thing that an ajnani, a normal, ignorant person who has not been privy to this kind of teaching, argues that because I see something, it must be real. Right? This is the logic. So this is what is called tarka. Tarka means pure mental logic. And you do not get into a social discussion. Please don't do something like this where you get into a discussion and you'll say, this is wrong. He says, what is wrong? What do you say? He says, because I see it, it is real. And the Shastra says just the opposite. Whatever is seen by nature is unreal. Only the seer is real, but if it is seen, that means it is mithya. Opposite to the ajnani who says, if it is seen, that it is satya. Please don't get into a discussion. You won't win. People will laugh at you. Keep quiet in your own mind. Try to resolve it. And this transition between the ajnani and the jnani happens over time with a lot of vichara, with a lot of mimamsa. But that's the interesting thing, that what one says is one thing, and what the jnani says is completely the opposite. That because it is seen, it is mithya. And the definition of the lakshana of the mithya is, as Bhagavad Gita says, that avyaktanini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata Avyakta nidhanani eva tatra ka paridevana. He says it wasn't there. So this is the nature of the mithya. Satyavat bhati, as long as has some pratyaya. This is what we have to do, our thinking. So, we often say that, how do I, this is all good, what you say, and it appears to be convincing and so on, but I don't see it that way. My life is full of, struggling with the world, and how do I do this? Well, the only way to do that is to be on the right side of knowledge. Because we have the ability towards buddhi and manaha and all those paraphernalia we have. But the question is, who do I run with? What kind of thoughts do I have? And those thoughts are the ones that are taught in the Vedas. Swami Akhandananda says somewhere, I forget where I read this, he says, don't think of these scriptures, the ancient Hindu scriptures, Vedas, as just for Atma Vidya. That's not true. It's not just, the other things it doesn't concern with. No. It's a complete understanding of what life is all about. It is what is the goal, what is the truth, how to understand it, what are the problems you face in your life, how to change your thinking, how to improve your mind, how to behave, how to do this, how to do... It's a complete treatise. Anyway, so there's some more very interesting references to the Bhagavad Gita, which are there in, I think, on page 255 of Swami Akhandananda's book. And I think in the next class, I won't begin to do that, even though we have a little bit more time. But I think I'll postpone that until the next class. And I think with that, we should be done with the second Karika. I think, I'm not sure. There's still quite a few pages to review and see if I can incorporate them in our thinking. So with that, let me close today's class, and we'll see you hopefully next time. Om Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. With that, So nice to have you all. Wonderful. One of the students had suggested to me was that perhaps what I could do is to give you a quiz from time to time and give you some time to just answer the quiz and evaluate yourself. It's not necessary not possible and necessary for me to evaluate the answers, but at least it'll be a good test for yourself to see if you are answering the conceptual questions. That's an interesting thing. I need the time to be able to form a quiz from time to time and send it to you. So I will examine it. It's a good idea, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to sign up at this point. Hopefully, after I come back from Salersburg, we'll look into that. And I think the other thing is that sometimes in fall, we will have another satsang session like we did 2-3 months ago. So at least we should try to do that a couple of times during the year, so we all get together and spend some time on face-to-face satsang. So hopefully will that be possible too. All right, with that, let me take your leave. Hari Om.